So I'm here with entrepreneur, recording artist, mental health advocate, Moolaah the GOAT. How are you doing today?
I'm good in yourself.
I'm good. Thank you so much for taking the time. You're from Detroit originally. What was it like growing up in Detroit?
No, I'm from Ohio, Lima, Ohio to be exact. Just new to the Michigan area. Um, Growing up in Lima, small town, very small town. Some opportunity, not a whole lot. Only child, both parents deceased now. So I'm just kind of branching away from the small city life.
Definitely. What was it like growing up in a small town?
For me, very congested. Very, I didn't have very many friends. Not very much so of the popular crowd. So it wasn't fun for me growing up in a small town, to be honest.
Yeah, like I mean, I would think like, a big advantage of like being part of a small town is like, isn't the idea that it's supposed to be safer, like your community, like you know everyone who's like part of the community. So you don't have like the outside influences, like sometimes like big cities is like where it's like people you don't know you're seeing on a regular basis, you know.
Um, I have a few influences, not a lot, but they're mostly people that are really close to me, that I look up to for some of the things they're doing in the community now. But at growing up, not really, not so much.
How did you like, had mental health issues, like, and like how did that affect your like, growing up?
Well, growing up, I kind of didn't realize it. Um, and then as I started going into my teenage years, early adult years, I started to notice that I was battling with some depression. I lost my father when I was 10.
I'm
So
so sorry for your loss.
it, thank you. So it shortly started after there. I can say around 13, 14, I started noticing that I had severe depression, and the anxiety started when I lost my mother. And that's when I realized that my mental health had took a real great turn. And see, growing up in the Black community, often we're taught to pray through our problems. So
Right.
we don't seek mental help and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would is anybody that goes through any type of grief, any type of depression, any type of anything that's driving them to the point where they don't even know who they are anymore, please seek help.
So
Please seek help.
your father was 10 years old. How did he pass away?
Oh, years old when he passed away.
You were 11 years old?
10. I was
Yeah.
10 when he
Yeah.
passed.
Yeah, you were 10. So how did he pass away? Like and how did you find out? Well,
He was ill. He was ill. Him and my mother were together. We all lived in the home together and everything. I grew up around my father, but I only had him for 10 years of my life. But he was ill.
that's unfortunate. Like so like we were talking about like I guess like being 10 years old and losing your father at that young age, like what happens like after you know you lose him, like I mean obviously like there's going to be grief, but like do you go see a therapist, or are you mostly just dealing with it in church, or how does that?
As a child, I just dealt with it as a child. It affected me, but it wasn't a way that it affected me to where it was noticeable, to where it's like, oh, this is really affecting her. I mean, I was a child. So at the end of the day, when I lost my mom I was 33, she was 55. That was deep. So it like opened up that wound of losing my father all over again. So it took me on a psychotic whirlwind, if that makes sense.
And and then what age do you lose your mom?
I was 33.
You were 33 year wow. So like as an adult though, like but like is that kind of like a feeling of abandonment because like now you like have lost both parents? I've heard like that's the most like the worst kind of pain.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the worst type of pain anybody can feel, and nobody can feel that void. You have people that tell you often, I'm here for you. You don't have to deal with this by yourself. I get it. I understand and I respect all those people. But at the end of the day, when you lose both of your parents, being an only child, and you come from the love and support of your parents, that's a stinger.
Most definitely. Um, so like back to the mental health issues, when did you start seeking mental health therapy?
When I was 34. So maybe a year and a half after she had passed away, my mother. I started to notice a lot of different patterns that had picked up. Very angry, very, very angry. I mean, breaking stuff, throwing stuff, um, angry, very, very depressed, crying almost every single day. Not understanding how at 55 years old, my mother has passed away. This, mind in a complete blur, anything to block it out. No hard drugs, alcohol, marijuana here and there, um, to block that out. And unfortunately, when you come from that blockage, it's worse.
For sure. You know, I think one of the things that we have the tendency to do, like especially in our community, is like self-medicate. And you talk about alcohol and drugs. Do you feel like what would be your advice, to people who like kind of try to not deal with their pain because of substances?
Go get help. Go get help. Anytime that you have to use or self-medicate anything to make yourself go to sleep, to take your mind off of anything that you're dealing with as far as grief, depression, anxiety, it's not gonna do anything but make it worse. Because once that high is gone, and once that drunk is gone, that problem is right back. That grief is right back. That anger is right back. It's all right back unless you can just get drunk and re-high all over again. And who want to live their life just drunk and high, blocking all problems?
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of times and stuff in our community though, like that's the solution. People don't really necessarily see mental health is if you kind of when I was growing up, it was like a real stigma. I feel like it's gotten a little bit more clear where it's more acceptable for people to kind of get mental health help, but it was a stigma like you're weak if you got to go talk to a therapist or how did you
Absolutely.
develop the mindset this is something and stuff that could be helpful to me because I have friends who so I have a friend who suffers with depression and it gave me a little bit of an understanding because if you don't deal with those problems and people don't really talk to you about them, you won't necessarily know what people are going through or how they're feeling and stuff where it could be they're dealing with something and stuff, everything that's crushing them. And if they don't really speak up, you wouldn't even know because
Bingo. Bingo.
yeah, and I think what I mean, it's if you don't deal with those, you wouldn't even know. And I've had friends and stuff, I think have committed suicide and it wasn't even necessarily a sign, they seemed like they're just trying to make it and you're not really paying attention to the fact that this person's suffering or necessarily not even that the problem was probably bigger than me, not even to say that I could have done anything that would have helped
Absolutely.
aided in the situation, but maybe it would have been better to be aware, so if I could have suggested for people and stuff to seek help,
Absolutely.
how can you pay attention to people who are you or around you that maybe their mental health state isn't good? Because I've had friends that commit suicide, overdose. I had the one girl, she was a really good friend of mine, Amara Romani, the adult film star Erica Libanati, and
Hmm.
she just drug overdose. And I
Hmm.
talked to her, but maybe I should have been being yo, what I mean, you should get help instead of doing drugs. As a friend, did I fail her? Because it's and stuff, instead of I'm not I don't want to tell anybody how to live, but
No, I'm gonna. You didn't fail her because unfortunately, with mental illness, a person is going to do what they want to do, and they're going to receive the help when they're ready.
a true right.
So you, even
It,
though you said you could have mentioned it, but you didn't fail her.
Yeah, I wonder about that. What I mean? Not to say though, I think she was one of those people who was gonna do what she wanted to do anyway. I don't think necessarily me saying and there were times where we did have that discussion and the last discussion we had, she seemed to be that was kind of the path that she was leaning, but also she could have just been telling me that, and stuff it makes me wonder, it's could where was that really what she wanted to do? Obviously how it ended, but Like how can we be better as friends to people we know who are dealing with substance abuse issues and then mental health issues as well? How can we support people even if they don't necessarily want help? They may not see a problem sometimes because like I feel like there's a lot of people and stuff they don't nobody wants to be told what to do in this world.
Mhm.
Like even if like you do know what's best. Because I've been out at the bar with people and like and stuff. Like when you're at the bar with someone like yo, you've had it like way too much to drink. You need to stop. And that's like sometimes an uncomfortable conversation. Even and like what I mean. It's maybe the next morning they might be like yo, like or people be like I do this or like I think like a lot of times people feel like they're you know, they have like free will, but like when you want to see the best in people, like when do you intervene? When do you say this is enough? You know?
You can typically tell if you're around a person for a long period of time, especially years at a time. You can tell when that person is dwindling down, especially if they experience some traumatic things in their life or in their past or in the current day. You can typically tell when somebody's spiraling, and that's when you can offer the best advice possible. And even if they don't want to get help, still be some type of support. Um, I've learned through many situations never turn your back on people, especially when they're going through stuff.
Right. Yeah. Like I think like, it's important like to give support and be there for people. Like, I think that's one of the worst feelings is that people will feel like, that you've abandoned them. Like,
Absolutely.
especially like in like, I think we live in an era like, of cancel culture where, like people like, can get dragged on social media, like where it's like, so people like kind of like, will turn their back on people and stuff, everything that they've known for years over like, celebrities with larger accounts or like, these micro influencers or whoever, like, what I mean, because they've led these like hate campaigns. And I think like,
I just
into like, the mental health of like social media. Do you feel like social media is good for your mental health?
no, absolutely not. Social media is not good for your mental health for many reasons. If you deal with insecurities, social media will stir those things up. If you're dealing with like different things, say for instance, women and bodies,
Right.
um, you're dealing with, oh, I hate my body, and every time you're on social media, you see this girl with this body, but she's paid for this body. It's like everybody want to rush to do this and that and be in that realm of doing everything that everybody is doing instead of just being themselves. So it's kind of like you get on social media and live bold lives. It's easy to get on there and live a bold life and have somebody idolizing your life and they're not even knowing that you're living a bold life. The life that you're proclaiming on social media is not even your life. So, social media can be detrimental because if, like I said, if you're idolizing somebody, so say for instance, if a person is idolizing, we'll say Jay-Z, and then it comes out that all this crazy stuff has been going on and it's not accusations, it ended up being true. um, at the end of the day, somebody has idolized this man all their lives, like their full lives, and then he ends up being not the person that he was proclaiming to be. And it's detrimental for that person because it's like everything he's done, they wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? It social media is not a good thing unless you're using it for reasons such as myself, promotion, entertainment purposes, things of that nature. But to just have social media, to just have it to be on there daily and scoping out people's lives and all that weird stuff, because that's what it is.
Yeah, like I mean, like you hear the saying like, comparison is the thief of joy. I feel like a lot of times like you can't compare like other people's journey or their life to yours, like and you never know like, what people had to go through to get like, what they achieved, like their internal struggles, like how it actually is. Like I think like on the inside, it's like I think people sometimes get caught up in the image of like, social media opposed to
Absolutely.
like yeah, you not really knowing the reality or the struggles and stuff behind the scenes. Uh
Absolutely.
yeah, like what's next for you though, Moolah the Goat?
um, acting. I'm actually gonna be in a project coming soon. I won't disclose too much information about it though, but I've already got my part, auditioned for it and got my part. I'm just waiting for the ball to start rolling. I did
That's really exciting, like, being, you live in Detroit, like, I know they're a really big part of the to-be scene, a lot of these, like, classic hood movies are coming out of Detroit is
it's exciting. I actually last year I went and sat in background acting, and background acting is like not really a speaking role.
right.
Um but it's time on the screen, neither here or there. I can add that to my resume. For Street Legal for Dennis Reed. Shout out to Dennis Reed and DR2 Productions. I was a part of that background acting episode 6. It was in Street Legal, and that's on Tubi right now. It's been on Tubi since September 1st, I do believe.
Most definitely, that's amazing, I checked out your music, I was listening to your music, you're a recording artist. How long have you been making music? How did you, get into, recording music?
Well, growing up, I used to do little stuff around the house, little raps here and there. Nobody really ever knew that I wanted to even do rap, but my mom.
Okay.
Um, so then I'm gonna say in my adult years, 2011, I ended up moving to Columbus, Ohio, and there's more opportunity to be an artist and stuff there. So I got inspired that very moment, and then that's when I like picked up the pen and started saying, "Oh, I want to do this." So I did it. I did drop a mixtape in 2012. No, 2013. I dropped a mixtape. It was called Miss Boss Period. Um, my mom played that thing out and gave it to so many people, and she was my biggest supporter when it came to my music. So of course when she passed away, I lost my love for music. Um, but in the up and coming months, I plan to start recording again. I want to put out some fire because I know I can.
Man, Columbus, Ohio is a very significant place in the birthplace of hip hop. Bow Wow came out of Columbus, Ohio, and he actually performed his first song. It was performed by he took a song from Tash of the Alcoholics, and that's how it ended up being performed on the Arsenio Hall show. They
Yes.
got him signed to Death Row, or eventually Snoop Dogg and stuff. I love just little stories like that in hip hop. You know, who are some of the people that influenced you, when you were growing up that you were listening to?
Queen Latifah, MC Light, Yo Yo, women like that.
Yeah, they had very positive social messages. Do you feel like that's kind of missing out of the music, especially today? I feel
Very
like the very prominent artists, what do you feel like about artists just pushing and promoting sexuality in their music?
well. I do that. So we could touch that. Because during the time of my era, that's when my younger era, that's when the yo-yos, the Queen Latifahs and all that. But my teenage era was more the Little Kims, the Foxy Browns.
Right, right.
So Little Kim is somebody that I listen to a lot. So that's where I picked up on a lot of my content. It's pretty, explicit sexual. But I can go the other way as well. So it makes me a little different than others because some people can only stick on certain, their genre is just lean towards sex or just gangsterism or just whatever. But I can go all the way around the board. Like I would love to record to something country, a rap song though, and do it that way because my genre of music is very widespan.
Most definitely. What are your thoughts though, about younger girls though, possibly listening to your music and taking the message and feeling because there's an argument, I think that this music and stuff influences the lifestyle as well. So if it leads to these high pregnancy rates, for unwed mothers and not having families in the African American community. It seems like
You
it's not an emphasis.
Oftentimes when we do music and things of that nature, we don't even think about the backlash we're gonna get. I do think about that often. I think about like, oh man, what if some of my baby cousins hear this when I'm gonna have to answer to why I said this or what I meant by this, or I've thought about that often. I wouldn't hope that it would be like a bad influence on anybody. I would hope that they would might maybe understand that it was just my articulate ability and the things that I wanted to talk about, not necessarily saying that those are things that should be done, if you understand what I'm saying.
Most definitely. You know, and you have a lot of like things going on. You host events, like like I was looking on your IG. Can you talk about like some of the events you host or like?
I've hosted in Atlanta, Georgia. I've hosted in Indiana. I've hosted in Detroit, of course. Pretty dope events. It was funny. One of my events, if I want to just tell a little short story, when Love and Hip Hop Atlanta came out, everybody said I looked like Tokyo Vanity. So I was at an event and a dude came up to the VIP section. He was just like, "Oh man, you the girl from Love and Hip Hop, wop wop wop." And I'm like, "No, I'm not her, but I got the mic and I'm talking my stuff." You know what I mean? So, but I got to explain to him that I'm not her. So, that was funny. And then me being in Atlanta hosting and not realize how much of a following that I really had. I bumped into somebody and they said they knew me, and I'm like, "No, you don't know me." And they expressed that they knew me through Instagram and proceeded to tell me how they had DM'd me. I looked in the DM, bam, it was there. That was a flattering moment because it was almost like, whoa, people are starting to notice me from everywhere, just from Instagram.
Man, that's pretty cool. Like, like you have like, a large Instagram following. How long did it take you to build up your Instagram following?
2 years. 2
2 years. It's
years.
like, what would you say, like, was the key to success of like, having so many Instagram followers?
What was that again? Can you repeat the
What do you feel
question?
like was the key to success to building up your Instagram following? Like, what would
Just
you?
being live a lot. I was being live a lot. So being live a lot, promoting my content a lot, telling people to like, share, comment, using a lot of hashtags, things of that nature. Then I was in some group settings too where all of us would be like collab together and share each other on bigger profiles and stuff like that and gain from that way too.
Most definitely, yeah, like cross collaborations and most definitely, yeah. I really appreciate you. Like, I see, like, you know, you gave me ideas about like how I could kind of promote the interviews like beforehand and stuff that like you approach it in a different way. And I think like, there's a lot that you have a really good mindset, like, for promotion and just like, helping like, reach a bigger audience, so
Absolutely.
I'm definitely going to try to employ that in the future. Why'd you decide on the name Moolah the Goat?
It's money motivated. So, not saying that I'm motivated by money, but I'm
That's not
motivated
that's not
by
a bad thing though, like, and stuff. I think like some people will try to make it seem like that's like a stigma, like you can't be motivated by money, but isn't that like, a good thing in at the end of the day?
so listen, this is the way that I put it. I'm not gonna say that I'm motivated by money. I'm motivated by the things that make money.
Okay.
Always looking for different things to do to make money. So that's where the moolah comes in at because I'm always looking for ways to make the moolah. Always. Like I told you, I do nails, I do hair,
Well,
um, cook, sell food, like do music parties. Like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's dope. Like, have you always been like that? Like, like taking on like, these different skills, like to be able to like, make money and stuff like, wow.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Every time.
Yeah. No, you hear that though, like, what I mean? I think it's important. I'm inspired a lot by like Nipsey Hussle. I feel like a lot of people and stuff, everything like caught on to him like after death, but like I feel like like his music is so like, dedicated about like the grind and like, getting money and stuff like, that's really motivational to me. Like I feel like, it's like you have to like, think of like different income streams and people don't necessarily want to like, take the time and stuff to build businesses. Are there any like influencers that you would say like, have given you like, ideas to like expand your hustle or like, just like gave you like, really good advice, like, to be able to make some money?
I'm just gonna say shout out to Mr. Go To. He always got brilliant ideas.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. Mr. Go To man, I appreciate him. He's getting me like, so many interviews, like, from Detroit. Like I feel like he put me on a FaceTime call with Shaka Senghor. You know what I mean? So Mr. Go To Man, he's the man. You know what would you say like what I mean is about Mr. Go To and that makes your relationship with him work?
My eagerness to learn and understand different things and different ways of living life. Far as a spirituality, far as just overall growth as a woman. Um, he's great in every sense of direction that when I come to him with an issue or something that I want to do, he's very supportive. He'll give me his input on I'm supportive, but so, he'll let me know the ins and outs of the different things I need to watch out for. Uh, he's great. He's great.
He sounds like, like someone that like embodies like leadership qualities. Like do you feel like women are looking for leaders? Like,
No,
especially like no. What
no. Because I had to be I ain't gonna say put in my place, but I had to be humbled down. I had to be humbled down because I mean, for me, I had been independent for so long. It's kind of like, how dare somebody try to take my independency? And that's not even what he was trying to do. You know what I'm saying? If you get where I'm coming from, and that's how a lot of women are out here today in the world. They feel like they have to be so super strong and so independent that if they do get something great, they end up missing out on it, or messing it up because of the state of mind. You have to be willing to grow.
right? Like do you feel though like because like I think like a lot of like women get abused in relationships early on, so it makes it harder for people afterwards sometimes, where they're not willing to trust, or like, there's like, just like the air of like, that people like dudes just aren't shit anyway. So like, like do you feel like it's kind of like a in a respect, like, just like the fact of like, there are a lot of people who don't have like, righteous motives sometimes in the world
It's
just
just
in general.
it's mind to me it's mind over matter and knowing your worth. You gotta know your worth and you gotta understand your worth, and your worth is only gonna get what you put out as far as worth. And you gotta, as a woman, you gotta know that you deserve so much better than abuse, whether it's verbal, physical, mental. You have to know that you're so much better than that. And you have to rise above everything that's being thrown at you if it's being thrown at you in a not so great way in a relationship. Like nobody should have to take being treated bold over and over and over, because like you said, what does happen is it does make it a lot harder for the next person, and the next person might be the person that you miss out on that could have been that blessing or somebody that you needed to be with, or that was for you anyway, somebody that you could have built a team with, an empire with, and just been great with. Because what tends to happen is when you skip over that person, you bump into another knucklehead again. I mean, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What do you think about the Jonathan Major situation? Like I guess he was telling the woman he wanted her to act like Coretta Scott King or Michelle Obama. Do you feel what do you think about that sounds I think that's like, one of the things that makes like Jonathan Major sound kind of like crazy. Just but I like Jonathan Majors as an actor. I really do, like, but like I can't justify those remarks, like, especially telling like a white woman that. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, a white woman could never. A white woman could that's
Even though, like, what I mean, just saying, like, like I couldn't see myself like being in a relationship with a black woman and saying you should act like Michelle Obama or Coretta Scott King, like, because number one, he's not Martin Luther King Jr., no matter how we like flip it, like, he's just an actor. I mean, like, he could have, like, potentially be great or still be great. Like, I'm not taking away any of his greatness or like his
right.
accomplishment. I love Creed. I just think like that was just kind of like an absurd remark. You know,
Was
what do you think, like, what I mean, as far as just like from like, situations like that, do you feel like it's difficult for men? Do you feel like, they should just be more careful about like the women they deal with? Like, I mean, like I see like from his perspective and stuff, it seemed like he's engaged in infidelity, which is like, pretty typical like of celebrities just in general anyway. and that led to like a domestic violence situation, which he doesn't seem like he was guilty of. Like if you just like look at all the evidence, he didn't seem like he hurt her, but it definitely cost him like money from his career.
Right. Um, I just feel like, on the men and women spectrum, we should be careful who we deal with. And we should only want to deal with those who are going to be protective of our energy, bringing peace, willing to build, willing to grow, willing to be there for one another. It's a us thing, not a I thing. It's a we thing, not a me thing. Like, it's a lot that comes with a healthy relationship, communication being number one. And a lot of people struggle with communication in relationships.
Mm.
So that's why a lot of them tend to go sour and things of that nature. So I just think everybody should be wise, with who they choose and who they deal with and who they give their time to, because time isn't to be wasted.
Did you see the Cat Williams interview on yeah, what do you think? You agree
Hmm.
with was
He spoke.
was there anything that stuck out with you from that interview? Like Shannon Sharp?
He just Cat Williams just spoke his truths, and how he felt, and I mean, he's open to do so. Anybody is open to get and take any type of interview and get out their story, their truth, so that maybe they can be looked at a different light, or maybe things can be depicted better for that person. But everybody's entitled to tell their own story and let it be known, and that's just what he did. No matter how he did it, no matter what he did it.
Yeah, who do you think, like, do you think Cat Williams is funnier than Kevin Hart?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Would you say he's one of the funniest comedians? Like, put him up there. Like, can you think of any comedians that you would think are funnier than Cat Williams? I would say Dave Chappelle. That's like probably the only person I could think of that is funnier than Cat Williams.
Mm,
Dave Chappelle, man, he's
like, I gotta say, I'm fucking with Cat. He hot. You know what I'm saying? And he keep it coming. He keep the heat coming. But yeah, he hot.
yeah, he's hilarious. You know, what's next for you? Like, it's the new year. You got any resolutions? Things you're hoping to achieve?
My biggest goal is just to be in 3 movies. That's it.
Three.
That's it. I really don't set resolutions and things like that. After my mom passed away, I realized time was so short. So I set goals that I know I can execute and get them done. So I got one that I'm gonna be, dealing with. So I'm looking for 2 more. I'm looking to audition for 2 more and lock those roles in 3. There you go. And if it's more, I'll be grateful.
Definitely, yeah. Like, I think that's a really good goal. What kind of roles are you like looking to play, like, or type of films like you want to work on?
Uh, Angry. Whatever I play in, I want to be angry. Because that's my way of helping deal with the grief that I still deal with. So I can be that person that I was, because I was being a very angry, mean person to people that shouldn't have received it. So that gives me a way to just let it out on the screen, leave it there, during acting, auditions, rehearsals, it gives me the opportunity to just leave that there, even if it's just for a moment. That's releasing. I'm releasing each time I do a role.
Oh, that's really
So
awesome. So it's like you get like a therapeutic like process out of acting, kind of like. Yeah.
absolutely.
Wow, it's incredible. Moolah the GOAT. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate you. Anybody you want to shout out?
Shout out to Mr. Go To
Yeah,
for
shout out Mr.
all
Go to Marquez Jacobs, man. Appreciate you, bro.
Howard Stern. He always on deck, and be looking out. He coming with his podcast real soon. Everybody be looking out. Um, I'm gonna shout out to my angels, my parents. I know that they guide me every day still. I know they're the reason that I'm still here. So anything that I do, I do it for them from this point on. Um, everything that I do is for them. I want to shout out the people that support me, whether it's business wise, whether it's just a simple shoulder when I need them. Big ups to those people as well. And like I said, shout out to DR2, Dennis Reed, and all of that team for the opportunity. Like I said, even though it was a background acting opportunity, it was a big opportunity. Shout out to Detroit. I've done a lot of podcasts in Detroit. Like I said, I've done hosting in Detroit. Detroit has been very welcoming anytime that I've done anything in Detroit. Shout out to Ohio. Shout out to Columbus. Shout out to Lima. Shout out to Dayton. Shout out to Toledo. Um, and shout out to my family. Shout out to my family
Most definitely. Where can
here.
people follow you on social media? Where can people
I I'm official Moolah the Goat on Instagram. I am Moolaah the Goat on Facebook. Those are the two places that I can be followed. Um, I receive messages, emails, because my email is attached to my Instagram. So I can receive emails, messages, and things of that nature. And that's where I can be followed at again. Official Moolah the Goat Instagram and Moolah the Goat on Facebook.
definitely Moolaah the Goat, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Enjoy this conversation. Let's do it again sometime.
For sure, for sure. I'm gonna say spring. Catch me in the spring. I'll have more to
Definitely.
bring.
Definitely. Take it easy.
For sure. Shout out to you as well.